All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to program our very first program. Now, last video, which is in the description below if you haven't watched that video, we installed the JDK and then we installed Eclipse, so we're ready to program. Now, a lot of people will teach you a way to print up a simple program where it just says hello world on the screen, or maybe they'll have you doing math. I really like to do visual things so that we can see these objects that we're creating and sort of manipulate them and actually visually see the behavior of them. So what I'm going to ask you to do in order to get this set up is first I'm going to ask you to go to this website, mrbutka.net, mrbutka.net, and that will bring you to this resource so that you'll be able to sort of follow along and see any code. So once we get there, if you go to Java Programming 1, even if the site changes a little bit, I'll always have it under the how to install Eclipse and JDK at home area. And the book is called Turtle. Now, this was not written by me. It was written by a gentleman named Carl Birch, I believe. And he has a great piece of work here. And I use it often in my classes and stuff like that. So please make sure you're taking a look at this as we go. We're actually going to start on Chapter 2, the DrawLine program. But before we can do any of this code and make it work, we have to set one more thing up in our system. So now I'm going to ask that you put in this link, and this is a direct link to download a zip file. And that zip file is going to be a library that we're going to add into our Eclipse. I assure you, if you go to this site and get it, there is no adware or spyware or anything like that. And as a matter of fact, I'll install it on mine right in front of you. So as you see, we're downloading this, and then once I go here into my downloads folder, I'm going to go ahead and drag this into my C drive. Now, you should probably drag it into your C drive or somewhere where you know it's not going to get deleted very easily. Don't leave it in your downloads folder, because if you happen to forget that you have it in your downloads folder and you delete stuff, your programs won't work. All right, so now we have that saved in wherever it is you'd like to save it, and we're now going to set up our project. We're going to go to File, New, Java Project, and I'm going to call this first lowercase f, swim, capital S, Camelback. So lowercase, second word's going to be uppercase, and we'll leave it at that. So we'll have a folder that populates now called firstSwim. If we expand it, it's not too much to it right now. It basically just has JRE system library and it has an SRC folder. So let's right click on that firstSwim folder one more time. Let's click new, and let's click class. The class we're going to create is going to be called DrawLine. Now, this is a class. In Java convention, you're supposed to start your classes with capital letters. So capital D, draw, capital L, line, and then you see that. Now, your font's not going to be that big. I have my font this big so that you people can actually see what I'm doing here. And then, once we have that, now we're going to add that library that we just downloaded. So let's right-click on our project folder, that firstSwim project folder again. Let's go to Build Path. Let's go to Configure Build Path. And we're going to add the external jar, which is that file. So make sure you're in your C drive or wherever you downloaded that at, which is right here. We'll double click on that. Now it should say turtles.zip right here. We're going to apply and close. So that will add that when we see right here, a reference library, and it will read turtles.zip. All right, so now we've got to go back to that resource on the programming site and take a look at this. Now, in order to program this, there's a couple of differences that we have than the example code. We have a package statement. They do not. So we're going to keep that package statement, and then we're going to add import turtles. Now, an import statement basically allows us to take the work that somebody else created, right, these classes and everything that were in that zip file that we just had, and then we get to use it all for ourselves and just build off of that. One of the wonderful things about object-oriented programs. So we have import turtles dot asterisk. That means all the classes in there. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure we edit this class header to extends TurtleProgram. So extends all right, and then when you have this, we're going to see that we have no errors right now. We do have one warning that you just are going to ignore. Yellow lines, we can ignore them for right now. So just a little bit of an idea. So we've imported the turtle's zip that somebody else has done. If we point at it long enough, we'll see that there's some information here. We can F2 and we can read this if you really want to. You kind of learn a little bit about it, right? And he has a little bit of code right there as well. And then in this class header, basically we created the class called DrawLine, and we could have called it anything, quite honestly, but it's convention to use capital letters and then camel case for any letter afterwards. And then we're extending TurtleProgram, which basically will open a window for us. It's a lot like an applet window, and if that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it right now. And then we have a left brace, which is an opening brace, and then a right brace, which is a closing brace. Every left brace must have a right brace, and so forth and so on. So those two braces, the class braces, will be the first and the last brace to ever open and close. All right, so we're going to create a method. We're going to call it the run method. And we do so just by typing like that and then hit enter. And you'll notice that the run method also has two braces, a left brace and a right brace. So we're going to keep that as well. I'm going to extend my window here so it's a little bit easier for you to see my code. And now, just to keep this brief, I'm just going to paste this code that I have typed out already, and you'll see that it matches the code that's in this resource here. So you'll notice that there's no red lines. The code is in between the whole method. So what are we doing here? We have a turtle type, and it is called yertle. So we're declaring a variable here. That's what this is doing. So eventually we'll want a turtle object. Now, once we have the variable, we can assign that variable a new turtle object. We'll learn a little bit more about how this works shortly. And then yertle, which is the turtle that I first declared and then I created, I'm telling it to .forward 100. So this is an instance method. I'm telling it to do something, some kind of action. And then yertle.hide. So without having to understand a whole lot of that, let's go ahead and click on this run button and take a look. Well, we see yertle, which was that turtle, showed up here, which happens to be 5100, and then it moved forward 100 pixels, and then when it disappeared, it ran its method to hide. All right. So now the text or the tome does explain a little bit of this in depth to you, and I'll give you my version as well, but you should probably read it as well. Anytime you see code, you should mess around with it, experiment a little bit, because the worst case scenario, you just Control Z back or you undo your steps, right? So if you're wondering what this forward did, we could just change that to 10 and then run it and take a look at the behavior of the code. And we notice, oh, well, that must make that go a little bit smaller. And as a matter of fact, if I point at the word forward, it gives me a screen tip, and it says, move this turtle forward dist pixels in its current location, right, or direction. Something I want you to pay attention to as well. We'll eventually get into more instructions on these, but for the turtle class, forward takes a double dist. Double is a type of number, so I could have done this as well, 10.56. Double is a type of number or a variable in Java that allows us to use decimal places. So now if I run this, let me say 105.56, there won't be an error, and it will move literally 105.56 pixels. So another thing you could do is, all right, so I've got this one here. I'm just going to change this slightly. Let me see. I want to change this to 150 and then run this one. All right, so now that I've ran this, I notice that it seems to be a little bit lower in the window compared to my last one. So if I point at turtle right here, the constructor, it says constructs a turtle who is initially x pixels from the left side and then y pixels from the top. So right in our turtle double x comma double y, when we construct it, that's how that works. So if you had questions on, well, can we create more turtles? Well, you should definitely try. So right here we had turtle yertle. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to change that to a different turtle's name. Let's do Jason. And then I'm going to say that Jason is a new turtle. And I'm going to give it a different location. Let's do 5015. Actually, let's do 10:15. All right, and I'll just watch it from there and see what happens. So I see Yertle back down below where we last had it, and then Jason is the new turtle, starts at 10:15, and it doesn't do anything because we haven't told it to. So let's tell Jason to do something. Jason dot, and then once I wait a second, I see that I get lots of possibilities here to do. Now, it tells me what I can do with these particular objects. I'm going to just keep it simple for right now. I'm going to do the same thing that I saw before. So let me back that up. Jason.forward. And then I'm going to put in 50. And run it. So there's Yertle, and then there's Jason. All right. So that's going to keep it pretty simple for this first video. Hopefully it's all set up for you. If not, make sure you're taking a look at the code. Make sure you have the same amount of braces. And this is the whole class right here. And I will copy and paste this and put it in the description too. If you still have some issues, don't hesitate to comment. I'll help you out, or I'm sure somebody in the community will help you out too. All right. Well, good luck, and hopefully you've been pretty successful so far.